welcome to another edition of Fantasy Dream Homes. And today we're going back to the New York City area, and specifically in Manhattan. And we're going to what's referred to as Billionaires Row. And so we're going to zoom in here. We're going to stop right there just for a second. This is a good map of what the New York, the what's known as the 5 boroughs of New York. The specific area we're going to be talking is right around here, just on the South Central Park area. But this, in the green, this is the borough of Manhattan. Here you have Brooklyn. This is Queens, and this is the Bronx, and this is Staten Island. So we won't be referring that to that anymore. But so let's go back to our Google Earth map. And now that you have some perspective, let's get in closer here. And it's so congested, it's really hard to tell what's what. But so there's your Staten Island, and here's Queens and Brooklyn right here. And this is Manhattan right here, okay? And there's the Bronx up there. So let's get in closer. The way to find Central Park real quickly is this super long rectangle right here. And here is this is Manhattan, which is separated by water here. Okay, so here is Central Park. And Billionaires Row, there is no one specific spot that is Billionaires Row. The best I can tell you is it depends. If you look at this picture, this is as if we were in a helicopter in the middle of Central Park looking towards South Central Park. So here's the borderline of Central Park. And it's these buildings, these super tall buildings, half of which are not even completed yet, which are part of Billionaires Row. 432 Park Avenue, 36 Central Park South, and so on, 157. If we go back to Google Earth, and I had to draw an imaginary line, this is what you keep in mind. It's going to be, it's going to have a really good view of Central Park. So it can be way off of Central Park. You're going to find some of the really high buildings off here. You're going to have buildings as far south as 52nd Street. 57th is known as the premier street for super high priced real estate. But again, you're going to have buildings up here which are considered part of Billionaires Row. So just keep that in mind. There is no for sure, if you're in a short building on 57th Street, you're not necessarily part of Billionaires Row. If you don't have a good view of Central Park, it's not going to matter as much. So let's get in really closer here. And now you can see as I move around, see some of these really tall buildings right here? Like this right here, this one right here. These are all going to have really good views of, and you can see these right here. These are going to have real good views of Central Park. And the way the real estate goes, the higher you go up in elevation, the pricier the real estate's going to get, because you're going to have better views, And New York's loaded with skyscrapers, so you better be pretty high up. So today, our real estate site is going to be Douglas Elliman Real Estate, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It is an excellent new real estate site, and I got to tell you, the photos on this site, I think you'll agree, are amazing. They're the best we've had so far on Fantasy Dream Home. Just as you watch this slideshow scrolling by, these are amazing photos, and they're huge. And wait till we get into the show, you're gonna see some amazing pictures. So I plan on looking more at Douglas Elliman Real Estate in the future, and incorporating it into our Fantasy Dream Homes broadcasts. So our first property is here's Central Park. We're way over here, far away from, but we're in a good high building. You're going to see by the views. It's specifically located on 57th Street, which we said is one of the premier streets on Billionaires Row. It is going for $27 million. It's 6 beds, 7 baths, and these are going to be presumably full baths. Interior space is about a little over 8,000 square feet. Built date, these are all going to be brand new. Everything in Billionaires Row pretty much are brand new properties. Stay tuned for a little bit later in the broadcast. We're going to tell you the difference between hiring an architect and hiring an interior designer, what the differences are and which one you should hire. In this particular case, it can make a significant difference. But let's get on to our first house and take a look at our first fantasy dream home. Okay, so that was our first fantasy dream home. What can you say about these? These are amazing homes, and that's why they're on Billionaires Row, and that's why this real estate. It is not the most expensive city to live in the United States, New York City. Believe it or not, we did a show on that. Vancouver, British Columbia is the most expensive, but this particular section of real estate is the most expensive real estate in North America, Billionaires Row. You have to be seriously wealthy to live here. So our next home, we're getting in closer to Central Park. We are still just off of 57th Street. This one is going for $41 million, 3 beds, 3 full baths, and 1 half bath. Interior space is going to be considerably smaller at just around 4,000 square feet. brand new home. Let's take a look at this fantasy dream home. Okay, that was our second fantasy dream home. Before we get into the third fantasy dream home, let's talk a little bit about architects and interior designers. There's an excellent article here, and I'll put this in the show notes, How to Decide Between Hiring an Architect or a Designer by Shelley Little, and it's featured on the website Fresh Home. I'm not going to go through the whole article. It's an excellent article, by the way. She spells out what do architects do and what do interior designers do. And the fact is, they have a lot of duties that can overlap each other a lot. Like, for example, interior designers, they specialize in how, what colors schemes to be using inside of homes. But they're not to be confused with an interior decorator. Interior decorator is more strictly colors and fabrics and furniture. A interior designer actually has to go through extensive schooling to learn how to utilize space and the space that is given. So an architect actually is going to be working more on the building side and the design of where to put the walls, what kind of exterior material should be used on the outside walls. The interior designer would have nothing to do with that. However, the architect can also decide how the interior colors are going to be used and things like that. So they do overlap. Getting down to the brass tacks of the difference between the two, she asked the question, so what's the difference between, and she says, architects design the interior and exterior spaces of our built environment, designing how spatial relationships within a building are laid out, while interior designers, hence the name, work within the already established interior spatial platform, using their skills to add aesthetic value. While some interior designers are more than willing to help with exterior color choice or selection of details such as windows, doors, etc., their main responsibility lie within the building. And while architects may be able to help with interior designs, their key responsibilities lie on the exterior or shell of the building. Who to choose? Well, we suggest it depends on your individual scenario. So in the case of Billionaires Row, these buildings have already been built. They've already had an architect come in and build. So what you really want to do then is hire an interior designer at that point, saying, okay, here's the space that the architect is laid out. How are we going to make this work? And I would argue that you could, especially when you're talking about billionaire properties or mega million dollar properties, as we're talking about, you hire, when you're building from scratch, you hire an architect and you hire an interior designer, both. And a lot of firms have all these, they have all-inclusive in-house. So they'll have, not only will they have an architect and an interior designer, but a lot of times they'll have engineers, and you have to have engineers in the building process too, because engineers are going to be dealing with ensuring that, you know, the load walls are in the proper places and that the weight of the walls is properly carried so it's structurally safe and sound. So in this case, you're probably best in hiring an interior designer, and sometimes an interior designer will work with an interior decorator too. The decorators can do things like help you select your window treatments, and they can select your furniture, and they can, if you allow them to, a lot of decorators, because I used to work in the furniture business, selling furniture, we had a lot of interior decorators, right, who worked in our retail environment that would work with the clients. They would actually purchase the furniture for the clients, and the clients would give them a credit card saying, I've got 8,000 square feet of space to fill, go get me some furniture. Some people don't want to be bothered. And if you hire an interior decorator and interior designer, you're going to typically get indoor decor that is far better and far more aesthetically appealing than the average homeowner can come up with on their own. So, like I say with any professions, why mess around with this stuff unless you're really good? Why not hire the pros to come in and do this for you and get an award-winning look, a world-class look that is done by professionals? So we invite you to check out this article, and the links will be in the show notes. So let's go on to our next home. This next area is in Central Park West, like I said. So here we are. We're about 2.5 blocks up on Central Park. And our third home is going for approximately $50 billion. It's 3 beds, 3 full baths, 1 half bath, interior space 4,000 square feet. You notice we're getting, the closer we get to the park, the more expensive the real estate is getting. So we're at $50 million. Let's check out this fantasy dream home. Okay, just wanted to point out a couple things here. We're going to go back. I want you to take a look at this lighting. Now, we talked about architects and interior designers. Then there are professionals called lighting designers. When you're in a property that's $50 million, nothing should be ordinary. Not the furniture, not the carpeting, not the walls. Everything should be spectacular and extraordinary. And that includes the lighting. And you'll notice here that there's nothing unusual about this lighting. It is very interesting and noteworthy and remarkable. It's all beautiful lighting. It's gorgeous lighting. And it's very well thought out, in that none of the lighting is going to be hitting you in the eyes or anything. It's all very subtle and it's subdued. So, and even the furniture, look at this furniture. You're not going to find this in typical furniture stores. You're going to find this in high-end furniture stores. So that's what you're looking for in mega million-dollar real estate like this. So our fourth and final home is also on 57th, and it is right overlooking the park. This particular property is going for $57 million, 4 beds, 5 full baths, 1 half bath, interior space, a little over 7,000 square feet. And let's take a look at this fantasy dream home. Okay, so those were four absolutely spectacular, I think you will agree, fantasy dream homes with some just one of a kind views of the world of New York City. And I would say very fairly priced for what you're getting. You're not going to get outstanding views like that unless you are in the mega millions of dollars. So we hope you enjoyed this version of Fantasy Dream Homes. We ask you to smash that like button. Also, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more shows like that. We welcome your comments, your feedback, and we hope to see you on the next time. So, as we always say, keep smiling, and we'll see you on the next Fantasy Dream Homes. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.